So as a negotiation professor, I often get asked the question, what is integrative negotiation? So in this video, you're going to learn what integrative negotiation is. You'll also learn the steps for succeeding in integrative negotiation and learn how to use the words integrative negotiation in a way that impresses all of your friends. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School. I'm the founder and former director of Harvard Law School's Negotiation and Mediation Clinical Program, and I'm a GAP enthusiast, and if you keep on watching, you'll find out why. When people speak of integrative negotiation, they're really using a fancy word to describe an aspect of negotiation that's always present, but that most people miss. And that aspect of negotiation is the ability to grow the size of the negotiation pie before dividing it.
Wow.
Now, most people think negotiation is distributive. Anything I get is something you lose. But negotiation experts know that this is actually a really wrong-headed assumption about negotiation. Because most negotiations offer an opportunity for both sides to do better for themselves. That is to say, to create value if they can cooperate with each other instead of just compete.
Did you do that?
No.
So let's go back to that example of the siblings fighting over the cake. It's this piece of chocolate cake. It looks pretty distributive because they both want as big a piece as they can. But integrative negotiation invites us to think differently about this situation, because it invites us to actually ask the question, why do you want the cake? What do you like about the cake? And in this example, you might have one sibling say, I just love cake. And the other's like, absolutely. Who doesn't like chocolate cake? So it still feels pretty distributive, right? But let's say we press it a little more and say, yeah, but what do you like about this cake? And one sibling's like, ugh, the cake is all about the frosting. It is the best. The other's like, the frosting? It's the fluffy chocolate angel food cake that I love. What? Now we have an integrating opportunity because one loves the frosting and the other loves the cake. So we are not going to cut this piece in half. We're going to cut it like this. And one's going to get all the frosting and the other's going to get all the cake. And there's going to be no compromise and no splitting the difference. And yep, that's what we mean by integrative negotiation.
It is!
So what I'm really trying to say here is in integrative negotiation, I want to look past positions to interests first. Second, I want to take issues that seem like they're single, or negotiations that seem like they're single issue, and make them multiple issue. And third, I want to look for differences between parties that help us expand the size of that negotiation pie. Now, y'all way more sophisticated than me on this. You're probably thinking dude, that's not what my negotiations are like. Mine are way more complicated. And I'd be like, yeah, of course they're more complicated. But there are some simple steps that anyone can take to make this seemingly distributive negotiation value creating in nature.
You're joking.
I wish I was joking.
So let me give you a few tips. First, don't just focus on a bottom line, a demand, or a position, but always try to go one level deeper. Why do you want what you say you want? And why does the other side want what they say they want? As soon as you do that, you're going to have a whole list of things that make what seems like a single issue negotiation actually multiple issues. And so that's the second thing. Whenever someone says this is just a price negotiation, I'm always like, no, it isn't. It's not. So let me give you an example. A few years ago, one of my students was graduating from Harvard Law School. She accepted a clerkship in Washington, D.C., and then she was going to work at a prestigious law firm there. So clerking for a federal judge, you get really, really crummy pay. It's high prestige, but low pay. But then working for a big law firm in Washington, you get a ginormous salary. I mean, you never see the light of day. You're always working, but you get a ginormous salary. So here's the situation though. She wanted to live in the same apartment for more than 1 year, but she couldn't afford the apartment she wanted in the first year because her salary was too low. So the question is what to do. So she decided to have a negotiation with the landlord and asked the landlord, are you looking for a responsible person who'll be here for any number of years, or just renting year to year? And this is an older couple actually. And they're like, oh, well, we love someone stable and who'll be here. And so she's like, oh, so it sounds like you're looking for someone to stay here in the long term. Answer yes. Well, I'd actually love to stay here in the longer term. The issue is that in year one, I'm going to struggle making rent payments. But if you're willing to give me a lower rent in year one, I'll guarantee that I'll stay here for at least 2 years. And I'll pay you more than the market in year two. For this older couple that found getting new tenants into their apartment and having some stability really difficult, they thought this was an absolutely brilliant idea.
Wow. That was really beautiful.
So what we were doing here, right, is instead of this just being about rent payment, it was about a bunch of other things like housing stability and a reliable tenant and expanding the time frame, right? All of these considerations helped us move from what seemed like a purely distributive negotiation about rent into an integrative or more value-creating negotiation that was about rent and predictability and stability, and that extended this over a period of time.
Very generous.
Let me give you another story that's an example of creating value by looking to a different source of value. Some years ago, I did some training for The Gap, and as some of you may know, The Gap owns stores like The Gap and Banana Republic and Old Navy, and it turns out that I actually wear clothes from all of these stores. So when we arrived at the salary for my work, I said to them, listen, I have an idea. Why don't we take $1,000 off of my fee, and in exchange, you give me a gift certificate for $2,000 to your store. Now, what am I thinking there? Well, for me, a $2,000 gift certificate, it's actually worth $2,000 to me. While I don't know the margins at The Gap, my guess is that a $2,000 gift certificate costs them like way less than $1,000. If you've ever been in any of their stores, you probably can agree with me, right? Like the markups are pretty substantial. In fact, a $2,000 gift certificate maybe costs them $400. So if that's true, that's $1,600 in value to be divided between the two of us, where the worst possible thing they could say is, we don't like that idea.
You know what I think?
Now, it turns out that they love that idea, and for an extended period of time, all of my friends and family got all of their gifts from The Gap, the Banana Republic, and Old Navy. But just to be clear, just to explain what we were doing there, we were creating value by looking not to similarities between the parties, but differences. What was the difference here? Well, the difference here is that I valued a $2,000 gift certificate at $2,000, but they valued a $2,000 gift certificate at $400. So instead of them paying me $1,000, it was cheaper for them to give me something at $400 that I valued at $2,000. So what we were trading on is the difference in the way we valued a particular thing.
I'll bet they do!
So let me end by telling you one of my most favorite stories about integrative negotiation. And the story actually starts out as a dispute. So this is some years ago, two microbreweries, each of them are selling a beer called Salvation Beer. And they run into each other, and the CEO of one of the companies basically says, you need to cease and desist the use of the name Salvation Beer, like that's the name of our beer. But the other person actually said, we have these like two really great beers and we could have a big litigation over it. We could fight about it. Or we share a lot in common, like we both like to brew these really creative micro ales. Why don't we do something together? What they end up doing is jointly coming up with a brand new beer called Collaboration, Not Litigation Ale. And in fact, you can actually Google that and buy that beer, which is pretty darn tasty and a great story of taking what seems like a dispute and turning it into an integrative negotiation that created value for both sides. So if you're interested in learning how to improve your skills of integrative negotiation and also interested in hearing some more really fun stories of integrative negotiation at work, sign up for courses I teach at the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Keep on listening because I'm going to be telling many more stories in the next video.